Okay, so first thing we're going to do, just like we always do, is we're going to clear this to piss off that one guy. So you actually have to take it apart because of the compromises imposed by the form factor. We are unloaded, we are clear. I was gonna make this like part one of a series, like that brilliant "You Suck at Photoshop," but then I realized that videos in which the fictional narrator's life falls apart while he teaches you useful things wouldn't really be well suited to the whole guns deal, and so I'm gonna stick with the semi-literate and stumbling guy with good diction, who's pretty much me in real life. Today we're talking about the North American Arms Mini Revolver. These are out of Provo, Utah, and I have long recommended them for a concept I like to call speedo carry, where concealment is a great premium and you're willing to sacrifice on basically all of the other important considerations for a carry gun. Now maybe speedo carry would work better with an actual speedo or with some sort of magical underwear, but it doesn't work with the old Walmart boxer briefs, and so I've been carrying this one in my pocket. Suffice it to say that my draw times have suffered pretty severely. The concealment is really good though. Now this is a single action, and you have to cock the trigger back with your thumb before you're able to fire it. That other notch here isn't a half cock or anything. I could pull the trigger all day and nothing would happen. That's a safety feature to keep the hammer out of contact with the rim and thus the primer of the cartridge when you're carrying it. For that reason, I'm totally comfortable carrying this without any sort of holster, which runs counter to my usual advice. If I inadvertently shoot my balls off doing this, I will have one of my friends make a Reddit post and retract that advice I just gave you. Now, in order to load and unload this thing, we have to do like I did right at the beginning and completely remove the cylinder from the revolver. Right there, there's a pretty clever little button here, and then this guy just pulls straight out. That's not something that you want to do under any sort of pressure. We'll come back to that later. Now the trigger pull is weird, and honestly it's kind of crappy. There's no take up and there's no travel. You just add a bunch of pressure, and then the hammer drops. I don't feel any resistance. I don't feel any one point at which the trigger seems to pause before the shot breaks. It just kind of does its thing. The reason I kept the cylinder out is for the dry fire safety. If you dry fire this with the cylinder in, then that hammer travels in through that little notch right at the top there and peens up against that. Not that notch, but that guy. Can you see that? Yeah, the focus is terrible. But the hammer, the firing pin on the hammer will come in against that guy, and you'll probably break the firing pin. Supposedly, they have a model known as the Wasp, which you can't dry fire even with the cylinder removed. So don't do dry fire practice with that one. I know that's a huge loss. The crap trigger is not especially problematic given the intended application. You're also going to have to use the medial phalange, or even this proximal crease or this proximal phalange in order to work that trigger. Just because it's so itty bitty. Again, that's a compromise that you have to make based on the intended application in the form factor. It's also really uncomfortable, and you can't get a good hold on it. It's just totally terrible. Now NAA was NAA was kind enough to provide this front sight post. I'm not exactly sure why they did that. There's no rear notch. You can always line up the firing pin on the hammer. I don't know whether you can see that. Yeah, you can always line up the firing pin on the hammer with the front sight post, but I don't see why you'd bother with that. You cannot line up this gap in which the firing pin travels. I originally, just looking at it, I thought that was the intended purpose for that guy, but the hammer's in the way, so you can't really do that. It's not a big deal in that it's perfectly rounded, so it's not going to get hung up on anything. They could have saved like 30 cents on the manufacture of this gun if they hadn't done it. Let's see. The whole less than an inch of barrel thing doesn't really give the projectile any time to develop any velocity. I mean, you're looking at a 22 LR powder charge here. You're looking at a 22 LR projectile. This is suffice it to say that this is not going to go through much of anything. And you remember I said you didn't want to have to reload this thing under any kind of pressure. So basically, you have 5 rounds of really, really terrible, 5 really, really terrible little projectiles to get the job done. So this is not a fighting pistol, guys. This is your deepest possible backup gun. This is, you are James Bond and have been ambushed while acquiring information from one of your Bond girls, and you have nothing to do except go to your super backup here. Now, that said, holy crap, is this thing little, right? I can't even get my hand all the way in frame, right? You're looking at, yeah, it's tiny. You could carry these in those skinny jeans that the girl from Grease wore and had to have sewn onto her. Nobody would notice. You could wear 7 of 9's spandex catsuit. You could put this in your butt and you could hide it. You could get it into any secure facility ever. You could probably even get it past the highly trained and competent agents of the TSA and onto an airplane. No, I'm joking. Nobody ever gets past those guys. Highly trained and useful public servants. This is the only gun I have ever purchased because of a movie. This particular, it's just about the exact model, although it had black grips instead of rosewood. But this thing was used to great effect by Val Kilmer's character in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is probably my second favorite movie after The Princess Bride, and you should totally watch it. The other thing that you should do is leave comments for me on Reddit so that I don't slide further into you actually suck at Photoshop territory. And again, practice a lot, stay safe, and have a wonderful day.